Hello, I'm going to be reading from Ways Characters Shape Stories. And we are going to turn all the way to The Tale of King Midas, a Greek myth, retold by Gare, Thompson. And this is on page 12. There are already some notes from today when we were reading this story in class. So listen as I read the rest of the story. The Tale of King Midas, a Greek myth, retold by Gare Thompson. And we talked about how a myth is fiction. It is a fake story. We also asked the question, what is King Midas sitting on? And we looked and somebody said money or coins or gold. And they said, look what's in his hand. We also should point out, what does his face look like? Does he look like a happy man? Every morning, King Midas counted his stacks of gold and wondered how he could get some more. He rarely spent any, yet never seemed to have enough. Midas was fonder of gold than anything else, except for his sweet daughter, Marigold. And we took a pause for a minute and talked about what the word fonder meant. We decided that the root word was fond. To be fond of something is to like something. So we said, what is something that we are fond of? For example, I am fond of going outside rather than staying inside. Therefore, to fonder means to like it more than something else, right? So King Midas was fonder of gold. He liked gold more than anything else. Paragraph 2. One day, Midas went for a walk in his garden. Tall sunflowers danced delightfully in the breeze. Their yellow petals shone like gold in the sunlight. My sunflowers do bring me joy, Midas said. Then he sighed. But they are not real gold. His happiness disappeared, like smoke up a chimney. And we discussed in class how this paragraph about how King Midas went to his garden and found real sunflowers in his garden, just real flowers. And they made him happy until he remembered that they're not real gold. And his happiness disappeared. Everyone said that made him greedy or selfish. And why? Because he wants real sunflowers to be gold instead. He's not even happy with beautiful sunflowers in his garden. Page 13. On the other side of the hill, Midas spotted a satyr fast asleep. The half-man, half-beast usually stayed in the woods playing music and helping the Greek god Dionysus. He must be lost, and he must need help, thought Midas. And then we talked about, wait a minute, a half-man, half-beast? It's called a satyr. And we drew a line all the way down here to this picture. And here he is, sleeping on the other side of the hill. And there's King Midas, and saw him. Paragraph 4. Midas woke up the creature and gave him some nectar. The satyr thanked Midas for the delicious drink and went on his way. Back in the woods, the satyr told Dionysus about Midas's kindliness. So kindliness, what does that mean? And some of our friends from class said that it meant helping someone or caring. And why? So we said, why did the satyr tell Dionysus that King Midas was kind, that he had kindliness? We then discussed that it was because he gave him a delicious drink that was some nectar. A strong gust of wind blew into Midas's palace, and Dionysus appeared. For your caring and generosity to my satire, the god said, smiling, I will grant you one wish. His voice was soft and melodious, like a flute. So his voice was so soft and calm, like a melody. Melodious. Dionysus gave King Midas one wish. And we decided to make an inference. What will King Midas wish for? And some of us said gold, maybe more gold, right? Somebody said maybe King Midas will wish for anything that he touches to turn to gold. Good inferences. Page 14, and this is where you are supposed to be continuing to read this independently. And I'm going to help you guys take some notes along the way. So here we have an illustration, and this looks like King Midas. And who does this look like? Remember that this is a Greek myth, and usually Greek gods wear these white cloth outfits, and these are called togas. So this is definitely the Greek god Dionysus. Excuse me. Paragraph 6. Midas knew what he wanted, but didn't think about what he blurted out. I wish everything I touch would turn to gold. Then I would be the richest person in the world, he mused. So he blurted out, I wish everything I touch would turn to gold. Then I would be the richest person in the world. How do you think that quote, what he said, says about his personality? What does King Midas's words say about his personality or about his heart? What is the only thing that he cares about or loves? So think about that while we keep reading. The god sighed and said, if that is indeed your wish, then everything you touch will turn to gold. Dionysus's voice echoed as he slowly disappeared. An excited King Midas ran up to his castle, eager to try out his new power. When he touched the handle of the front door, it and the whole door turned to gold. Wahoo! Exclaimed Midas. I believe that I will soon be the richest person in the world. So, everything you touch will turn to gold, Dionysus told him. And he was excited, right? An excited King Midas. Then, this part is important, right? When he touched the handle of the front door, it and the whole door turned to gold. When Midas sat down for supper, his chair and table turned to gold. Midas clapped giddily and went to grab his supper. But when he picked up a piece of bread, before he could take a bite, the bread turned to gold. Oh my goodness. So far, he has turned the whole door gold. He turned his chair and his table gold. A piece of bread turned to gold. Do you think what is going to happen is going to be good or bad? Let's keep reading to find out. Oh no, cried Midas, now realizing the folly of his wish. Folly. So if he says, oh no, do you think that he's happy or sad? If everything I touch turns to gold, I will starve. His daughter Marigold hears his cries and ran to comfort him. No, screamed Midas, but it was too late. Marigold hugged her father and instantly turned into a golden statue. The greedy king's joy went out like a light. Dionysus, please help me, pleaded a weeping Midas. I made a terrible mistake. This is a very important part. He says, if everything I touch turns to gold, I will starve. And all of a sudden, his lovely daughter comes to help him. But when Marigold hugged her father, she instantly turned into a golden statue. The greedy king's joy went out like a light. Dionysus, please help me, pleaded a weeping Midas. I made a terrible mistake. Dionysus heard Midas's calls for help, and a gust of wind blew into the palace. What is wrong? The god asked. This wish is a curse, moaned Midas. I was a fool to ask for this power. How are Midas's actions affecting the story? Let's read the last part. Page 16. Dionysus knowingly nodded his head. Go to the river and wash your hands. Once you do, the power will be gone, explained the god. Midas did as Dionysus instructed and washed his hands in the river. As the water rushed over his hands, Midas thought, I hope this works. I cannot bear to live without my daughter. That's very interesting. How is this different from what Midas may have thought at the beginning of the story? He's touching the river. I'm surprised he's not wishing the river was going to turn to gold. Paragraph 16. When he returned home, everything was back to the way it had been before. His chair and table had been turned back to wood. His food smelled appetizing again. Most importantly, Marigold was no longer a golden statue. She ran outside to greet her father. Gold could never make me happier than you do, Midas said to Marigold. And then he declared the day a holiday, opening his golden palace for everyone in the kingdom to celebrate. And so here is an illustration of Marigold and King Midas back at the palace. Go ahead and complete the assignment, The Tale of King Midas, in Schoology, and answer the question about this illustration